Good morning, Coach Paris here. It's prep day at the Heinen house, so I'm going to show you some little things that we do typically at the beginning of the month, but we just ran out of some of these things, so I thought I would show you. So the first thing that we make every single, well, not every single month because we don't go through it as fast, but I get complaints a lot that people do not love brown rice because they just don't know how to cook it. So I'm going to show you the ultimate way to cook brown rice with the hope that you have this setting on your Instapot. So I'm an Instapot girl. I just finished doing my hard-boiled eggs in the Instapot, which I'll show you in a little bit. I go ahead and do 7 of those a week, have those pretty much every day. So with the Instapot and brown rice, it is fantastic. So what I'm going to use, I'll show you. I'm using chicken bone broth. You can use vegetable bone broth. You can use beef bone broth. You can use you don't have to do bone broth at all. You can just use some, regular broth of any kind or just water, whatever you want to use. I like this because it seasons it up really well. It doesn't necessarily taste like chicken, so that's okay too because we use it in everything, which I'll show you one of the things we're using it in today and why we're running out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 3 cups of this bone broth in, because why would we not want to add protein to our brown rice, right? And then I'm going to put 2 cups of brown rice. So straight up brown rice, just putting it in there. I'm going to seal this up and I'm going to cook it on the porridge setting. It's much better than the rice setting for brown rice because it goes a little bit longer, so it cooks that brown rice a lot better. So that's where we're starting. That's number 1. I'm going to go ahead and finish that up and get it started. If you don't have a porridge setting, you probably have an oatmeal setting. That works as well. Super easy. That's the first thing we're doing today. So as I mentioned, it's going to be 3 cups of, I always do 1 more cup of bone broth than of the brown rice itself. That keeps it pretty moist and tender, but it also doesn't it doesn't stick to the bottom of the Instapot, which is everybody's least favorite thing, and that's where we started doing this. So that's one thing. I will show you that when it's done. All right, continuing on with what I do as prep at the beginning of the week and beginning of the month with a lot of the things I'm doing today. So I buy 5 pounds of onions and I chop them up into different chops. Sorry, I have to show you this way. Into different chops. Okay, just fix this really quick. So I chop it in little chops. And then we also have all of these. So these will go into the freezer just like so. I'm gonna throw half of these into a fry pan with a little bit of avocado oil. We are an onion family, so I feel like onions is in every meal that we have. So whenever you buy the onions, don't just chop up a half of an onion. If you just want to do 1 onion at a time, but if you do it this way, you can freeze them all. You can have them all ready. All you gotta do is pull them out and throw them into whatever you're throwing them into. I cook half of these. Today I'm going to show you what we're making for dinner tonight, but I cook half of them. I keep them in the fridge. I always keep them in glass containers. Really super simple way to have kind of a big job done ahead of time. I also do the same thing with peppers. I don't have any peppers today because I have a freezer full of them. And I'll buy 5 pounds of peppers and I'll just chop them up and have them all in the freezer. Now, if you like raw peppers to eat, you don't want to do that because they taste terrible out of the freezer, but they're great for sauteing. They're great for stir fries. We make a lot of fajita bowls here. And so just a couple of things. All right, I'll be back. All right, so now we have a bag. I date the bag so I know exactly how old they are. And then this is just a pure Pyrex bowl that's full of raw onions that I'll be adding to everything all week long. So one of my big preps that I usually do at the beginning of the winter is I usually batch cook a bunch of chili and just make life really, really easy. Well, tonight it's snowing here where I am, and it's snowing and we're gonna have chili for dinner tonight, but I don't need to make a batch of it because we're moving into summer and we don't eat chili much in the summer. Now, if you do, make a much bigger batch of this. But the interesting and fun thing about this is that I always, when I come home at the beginning of the month, I always go to do my main protein shopping, and I cook a lot of my proteins ahead of time. So I buy 96% ground beef. And I bring it home. I usually buy anywhere between 3 and 4 pounds. My husband and I don't have any meals that we need for more than 2 people typically. And if we decide to have a big crowd, it's easy. It's already all cooked up. But what I'm making today is I'm making chili, and I'm just making one batch. So we have 1 can of dark kidney beans, and I always buy no salt added. So I buy no salt added. And the other thing I always do is I always rinse the beans. No matter what beans I'm putting in anything, I always rinse them, unless I home make them, and then you don't have to do that, obviously. 1 can, no salt added, tomatoes, just diced tomatoes. And then we have 1, whatever your favorite chili seasoning is. I really love Kroger brand. They have all different, they have hot, they have mild. My husband loves mild, so we always do mild. That, and then I had this much leftover rice in the freezer before I decided to do that. I'm gonna throw that in here. It's brown rice. I'm gonna throw it in. It'll just make it a little bit more filling. And then I have 1/3 pound of ground beef that's already cooked. So I'm just throwing that right into this little crock pot as well. It's gonna go in here. And then I top it with the last thing that I'm gonna do. I need to stir this. This little crock pot is filled to the brim. So I'm gonna top it with just 1/2 cup. I think maybe I'm gonna go a whole cup of just hot water. And then these, pardon me while I walk away, these onions. They're all sauteed up, have a little bit of brown in them. Took me, this whole thing to put together took me less than 5 minutes. When you have the proteins prepped, when you have everything done, then this is all just gonna meld together. And tonight we'll have this with little cornbread muffins, and such a healthy way to get all of your food groups, right? Lean ground beef, beans, it'll be very filling. And then if there's any leftover, like when I batch cook typically, then we'll make chili mac sometimes with whole wheat pasta, or we do buy some of the not fat-free hot dogs, but 98% fat-free hot dogs. They're pretty good. We can do that with it, the leftover. So it's kind of a nice thing to really batch cook. If you know, like I said, at the beginning of the winter, I usually make about 4 batches so we can have chili once a month all the time. So that's my last thing I'm gonna show you today, other than as soon as the rice gets done, I'm gonna show you that one. All right, the finish. We now have all of this beautiful brown rice that comes right out of the Instapot. It is absolutely perfect because we did it with that bone broth. It even richened it up just a little bit more with that chicken flavor. So now what I will let this do is I will set it on the counter, and I'm gonna let it dry before I freeze it. That seems to really, that seems to really help. So now we have this big old bowl of brown rice, and what I'll do is I'll package that up into really good freezer bags. I always tell everybody, you buy the good freezer bags when you're prepping. You don't want to buy cheap freezer bags. So I will package up 1 cup of rice, and this has made should have made 6 cups of rice. So with the 2 and then the 3. So I will package it up as 1 cup of rice, and that's what we use in all of our meals. We make chicken fried rice, we make fajita rice bowls, we make so many things with this brown rice, and it is absolutely wonderful. I know a lot of people really don't like brown rice. It's just because you haven't learned how to do it yet. So be sure that you follow me. Be sure that you do this. This is just the beginning of my prep today. There will be many, many more videos for the prep work that I do. Also, run over to alwaysonyourside.coaching.com. That's my website. I would love to have you join that. I send out weekly recipes. We do a lot of blogging, and no junk, no spam. And even when you go to my website, there is no pop-up ads. There's going to be a pop-up asking you if you want to join the newsletter. And that's it. I promise I'll never spam you. I don't share anything. And so alwaysonyourside.coaching.com. You can also follow me on Instagram, same thing, Always On Your Side Coaching, and also on Facebook, Always On Your Side. So if you want more tips for just prepping so that you can get dinner on the table every night in 15 minutes, follow me.